Now, this is PJ Savage, and you're watching the Three Count Podcast. The Three Count Podcast just got savage. I just messed up.
I'm in fashion, roll with cold passion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Winter Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. That's right, I am that person, and you guys should be saying it in your car by now. Just say it with me, I am your Sherpa. That's right, just like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. Who's entering the ring today? Man, you can find this person at Invictus. You can find them at ULW. You can find them at IWA, SWF, TCW, Standalone, ECPW, Sanctuary, Warriors of Wrestling, MWC, ROH. He is from the west side of Harlem. He is PJ effing Savage.
Hell yeah, that was the best intro to any podcast I've been on, and I've been on 3,000 of them. So that was straight up. That was dope. That was good stuff, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on. Any platform's a platform, and we all gotta be blessed to have these platforms out here, man. So I appreciate you having me on. Much love.
Yeah, so if anybody's wondering like why my voice is all shot the way it is, man, I was talking about this on Now Entering 201 with Alex Sacetta, right? But it's July 30th and July 31st. Like I was in the ring, and like when you bump too much, sometimes like your voice just vocal cords get blown out, and that's what's going on with me right now. So it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, man. But how are you doing, man?
I'm good. I actually have an injury. I'm on the shelf until August 20th. I've been injured since the middle of July. I had to pull out 4 bookings, which sucks. It always sucks. You never want to miss time out, but that's why I've been very promo heavy and making sure I got a lot of content coming out to stay in there. No one really has to know that I'm injured. So when I say I'm injured, everybody's like, "Oh shit, you're really injured." Yeah, so I'm toughening through that. I have 2 pulled hamstrings. Both my hamstrings are pulled, and I have a small tear in one of the muscles in my back. So it's like the worst. It's like having fluid in your back is like one of the worst things to go through. So I'm toughing through that right now. So it kind of sucks, just like everyday life sucks right now.
Damn. Yo, so two pull hamstrings. I know. Like, listen, when I was trying to debut in like August, right, of 2020, I was getting ready for my first match, and it had been like 2 weeks before. Like I was making my debut, right? I did a 3/4 roll, and I did it wrong, and tore my lower abdomen. And so yeah, like that whole getting pulled out of shows and missing, especially when you miss like 4 ones that you're like looking forward to doing, like
yeah,
it 100% sucks.
Yeah, and like we're kind of riding. I'm riding like a little wave of momentum right now, especially after the whole STP versus Takeover show. There's been a lot of momentum riding with me, great bookings, solid bookings, a lot of shit flowing. So it was like to pull out and to stop kind of sucks, but my body does need to rest. I've been going nonstop since everything opened up in New York wrestling. I probably missed like 3 or 4 weekends in the past 2 years. So my body's like, hold on.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, and it's funny because like that injury like woke me up too, because I was like, I know I spent like, I think it was like 12 weeks. I was like on the shelf, just done. I couldn't do anything. So I would still show up to practice and like take notes and watch wrestling matches, figure out like mental reps, start doing like all the things that were necessary to like keep myself going. So like right when I got into it, like that was it. Like I was, I'm good. Like I have a debut match. Like, and then crazy enough, like my debut match was with Ron Holiday of Riot City, and then the next day they were like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in with Darius Carter," and I was like,
You're wrestling the All Father. Oh right. Man, oh that's awesome, man. That's awesome. You should learn a few things when you step in the ring with that man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was cool too because like he was like, sorry for everybody who's getting pulled behind the scenes. Like super, like once we got done, we started talking in the back. We shared conversations and stuff. I'm like, yo, he just was just like the Hey, there's a reason why they call that man the richest prize in pro wrestling.
Yeah. I'll go on record, and I'm not one to put anybody else over. I only put myself over. But Darius Carter's the top guy out here on the East Coast. I don't care what anyone says. He's the top
Yeah.
guy. That's the guy on the independent scene that I'm gunning for. So
Yeah. PWI needs to get their shit together and get
Oh.
him on that list, like higher on
100%.
that list.
100%, 100%.
Yo, but how did you get into the sport?
I've been a fan of it all my life. My grandmother got me heavy into wrestling from when I was a little kid. My first wrestling event was WrestleMania 10. I was 4 years old. So went to the Garden, went to the. I grew up just watching wrestling, watching AAA, watching CMLL on Saturdays on Telemundo in the hood. You know, like I grew up on wrestling, like, and I grew up in probably the best era of wrestling, which was the Attitude Era. So like I got to see Rock, Austin, Brett, Shawn, Hogan, Goldberg, all those guys like come up, even Raven, like the glory days of Raven. Like I got to witness that and like filter that into me. So like it always was with me, and I always wanted to do it, but I was a little bit of a troublemaker growing up. Like I never made the smartest decisions. I wasn't that kid. I learned a lot late in life. And like my father was never there. I never had somebody to like tell me what's right and what's wrong. So and my mother worked nonstop. And when my grandmother had passed away, because she was basically the one that was like taking care of me, it was kind of like, all right, figure it out on your own. Like that's what was left for me. So it was always wrestling, going back to wrestling. I wanted to do it when I was 19, but I couldn't. Just circumstances. I had my daughter, and I just couldn't. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to go to wrestling school, so it was just tough. So a couple years down the road, I had moved to Brooklyn, and the Barclays Center had first opened, and that was like the lowest point in my life. Lowest. I was depressed. I was battling anxiety. I was battling a lot, and I would walk past the Barclays Center every time Raw was in town or pay per view was in town. I literally lived across the street from it. I would hear the roar from the crowd, and it was just like, man, I always said I wanted to do it. And this one day I had a tough day at work, and it was like I knew what I was going home to be more depressed. And I just stood like I was watching those trucks because I always used to watch like Legends of the Ring. It's on Peacock now. It was on the network. I used to just eat up all the backstage stuff. And it was like, man, I want to be one of those guys. Like, no disrespect to the fans. Professional wrestling has the greatest fan base in history, like point blank, period. There's no fan base loyal, more criticized, more vocal than a pro wrestling fan base. But I don't want to be a fan. I wanted to be in that locker room. I wanted to be accepted by guys like Dusty, Rick, and Vince. I wanted to sit at the same table with them and break bread, you know? And I kind of made the decision, and it was like I looked up wrestling schools. 2 schools pop up. Only 2 schools ever pop up when you're in New York, and that's House of Glory and World of Unpredictable Wrestling. And like I told you, I'm a historian. Like I study the history of it, so I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead and 2 steps backwards. So I'm like, when I make it to WWE, what do I want my documentary to start with? I feel like it'd have more validity if my documentary started with saying I got trained by a WWE Hall of Famer. So I made the jump. I went to Johnny's. I started training with him, and I think like 2 weeks into it, I ref my first show. I ref like 8 matches. He puts you through the ringer, and then about 2 months into it, I had my first match, and it was at La Boom in Queens, New York, where Evolve and NXT was running. So that was cool. It was a pretty cool experience to have a debut there, but. Yeah, that's the short and sweet version of how I got into professional wrestling.
That's, you know what's funny, because like you said, there's like a lot to unpack, right? But there's like one in particular I want to talk about. It's the fact that it's like the women have gotten a lot of the men into wrestling, which I think a lot of people like don't realize. Like they're like, no. But I know a lot of people who talk about like either their grandmother, like myself, it was my aunt. You have your mom, right? Or maybe it was like. For some people, it was like their older sister, but typically, and I feel like out of doing this show, like, I don't know, maybe like 6 out of every 10 episodes, somebody always says, it was this female presence who got me into wrestling.
It's very true. It's very true. That's very true. All the guys that I hang out with, I know, like all the takeover guys. I think we were all influenced by our grandmothers.
Yeah.
So like that's that's a pretty cool intake on it. That's really true.
But it's cool because like something else too, like I want to touch on, right? Which is, hey, we gotta be honest because we're gonna stick together as it is, right? But when you're a Latino and you're going into like to wrestling, like there's a heritage that you like. There's already like a standard that you already like held to, right? And some people will be like, well, you're either like this luchador type, or you're this thug type, or you're like a gangster, or you
Yeah,
know, you're a guy who works a lot of different jobs, or you're just that guy, right? Like that's what they try to put you as or pin you as.
one
So
hundred percent.
yeah, so like you have to like double like the work to like break out of these like stereotypes that you get put into. Like I know for me, like a lot of people look at me and I have white skin, but I am 100%. I tell people all the time, like, yo, estoy panameño. Like I am who I am, but I want to be this mercenary Deadpool type character, and I don't want to be like another dude that's like, hey, like I'm not Eddie. Like I'm not gonna walk around and be
Yeah,
like Viva la raza. Although
yeah,
like I
no,
do say I like the raza.
yeah, nah. You're 100% right. We do get stuck into that category of just like you got to be with it. It's almost like typecasting in the movie industry. You're gonna work a certain role and that's it. But a lot of it has to do with your look. So like I had got some advice one time from a wrestler who was on TV, and I won't say his name because it's just redundant. But I didn't know he was Puerto Rican, and when he let me know he was Puerto Rican, he came in. He was like, I knew the business I was getting into was racist as hell, and I knew I had to look less Puerto Rican to make sure I got filled into the role that I wanted to be in. And a lot of people used to say I look Samoan. And I used to say, well, this is going to work for me then. Like feeding into that, grow the beard out a little bit, have the little hair. I didn't have hair before. So it was like, all right, so cater the look and the persona to fit something else. Like we have to do that. That's something that we have to face. Everybody just combs over it. So I'm glad you're touching upon it. Because a lot of people don't know that we fight that the moment we come into it. And it's like, I know there's an indie wrestler out here. I love him to death. His name's El Traballo, and he's a guy that just wrestles because he mops a bucket and does all these construction things. It's cool as hell because he took some wrestling boots and painted them like Tim's.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool. But like it sucks that he has to do that, and all of us just don't even think about it. Like it's like, oh, well, it's okay. But like as a Spanish man, we're kind of learning, especially me growing up in New York and dealing with it all. A lot of the times you're told just to shut up, just to deal with it how it is. And it's like we look at some things that we see sometimes and we just go, okay, that's just how it is. And it sucks that we have to be like that, but we got to be honest, that's the world we live in now. So
Yeah, but then like the other part that like really becomes like troubling, right, is that like suddenly like you're that type of Latino, right, or that type of Latina, whether you're like, hey, oh, you're a badass, cool, so you're kind of like Iblis, or you're like Diamante, or
yep,
oh, so you're a tough guy. Oh, so who you think you are, Santana, Ortiz, Conan?
yep.
Like you think you're that type? Like no, no, no,
Yep.
no, 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 no. I don't want to be that person at all.
Yeah,
Like
no. Yep.
I went through and I was looking at like famous Panamanian wrestlers. And on Wikipedia, there's only two. I was like, yo. And now all of a sudden, like, you find yourself, like, in this trail of, like, hey, yo, I
Yeah.
have to blaze this trail and push it further than what happened before, and I can't fail. And it's like, I don't think people really understand because, like, let's be real. Like, a lot of other wrestlers, and I say that in, like, the sense of, like, other white wrestlers, they don't have to worry about that part because they're like, well, I'm going to be that person and I'll just push as far as I can. And it's like,
Yeah.
but if they quit, that's cool.
Yeah.
You're just the person who, you were just another guy who tried to live. But for like someone like me or someone like you, Andino, right? Like we have to like take that as far as we can take that because,
Yeah.
and we can't quit. Like, cause then all of a sudden it looks bad on us that you were talking about how you were trying to represent this. Now you're done. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's funny you said that too. Like, I remember when I was first starting out, I had to be like my third show, second, no, it was my third show. My third show in, I pulled out a Puerto Rican flag and like came to the ring with it, and someone in the crowd yelled 5150, and it was like, no, that's not me, bro. Like, please don't put me into that category. I'm not LAX. Like
right.
And it's not against that. Like if a contract came in front of me today and it was like, well, we need you to be the newest member at LAX, I'm gonna do it to the best of my abilities and get it over. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. But it's like I would like to pave my own way. I would like to do me and what I want to do and become what I want to become. And a lot of guys like us and other men of color, we don't have that option. It's like, oh well, you're typecast. You know, sucks. But
Yeah. And that's why I was like, I like guys like Darius Carter, or another person who broke like that whole entire thing, JTG, right? Like Jay the God, like he's now like this pure wrestler, badass kind of dude, and
Yep.
and people know him for Crime Time, like that's where they talk about him. But
Yep.
you see, like he's got this new kind of evolution in character, and then you look at guys like, no, just Rey Mysterio is my favorite wrestler of like all time, but he's been the same dude, like for 20 plus years now, and he's still doing it at a high level. But it's like I have to carve that own path out for myself too, and I want people to know that I'm different. And then the other part that I have to fight too, right? It's not even just the fact that I'm a Latin, but that I'm military. And some people expect me to be like, "Oh, you're the soldier? Oh, cool. So we need you to be like stoic and like."
Here comes Flip Gordon Jr.
Charge. And I'm like, first of all, I talk a lot of shit. Like I don't have time for all that.
Yeah, it's tough. And then when you do that, you have to go all in on those gimmicks. It's like we're seeing it now, even on TV with Lacey Evans. Like she has to go all in. I remember they were trying to do the babyface rub, and it was like, this is not a babyface character. A militant person with that military background, with the discipline that a military person has, that's not going to appeal to a babyface audience. We're going to hate you because we don't want to be disciplined. The natural person that sits his fat ass down and watches professional wrestling every Monday night is eating popcorn and chips and guggling a 2-liter of soda, and it's like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to be disciplined. So it's going to have to be a heel. But it's like, if you have to be that militant person, you're kind of designated just to do that, and you have to go 1,000%, because if you don't, it's just not going to work.
Facts. So we're gonna shift gears over, right? Because we're talking about characters and stuff. But I gotta know, man, what's the worst bump you've taken?
The worst bump I've taken, it's the bump that I believe tore one of my back muscles recently. So I had a no-ring fight with Max Zero at Invictus Pro Wrestling. And I'm the type of guy, I'll bump anywhere. Like I'm crazy. I love the fans. Everybody. Pagano, a wrestling Mexican wrestler, he's a luchador. I met him a few years ago, and he told me, "I don't care if people pay $5 or $100 to come see me. They paid their money to come see me, so I'm gonna put everything on the line." And I kind of have that in my mentality, so I don't mind. I'll bump anywhere. I'll throw myself all over the floor. But I took a bump on the stage, and it's like a bookend or a rock bottom, something. And it was just like the moment I landed on that stage, I even smacked out on my bump. You know what I'm talking about? When you smack out, you think you good, so you hit that pow, get that noise. Man, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. I threw myself, I posted, I jumped, I hit that stage, and instantly I was like, something's wrong. Something happened. That was stupid. That was dumb. Like you have to save your body, and it's like Daniel Bryan said, which I'm trying to really incorporate into my life right now, which is just taking care of myself. Like, word of advice to any young wrestler: if you're under the age of 30, if you're 21 and 22 and you're starting out, please take care of your body. Do yoga, stretch before your matches. Please, like, don't take it for granted. Everybody has a bump card, and your bump card's going to catch up with you. So please take care of your body. But that is the worst bump I've ever taken. It was horrible. Go back and watch that match. It's on Invictus's YouTube right now. You're gonna hear me the moment I take that bump. Oh, that sucked. You're gonna hear it on camera. It sucked, man. It was the worst.
So just shifting back, what's so after a show, right? What's that post-match meal, post-match snack that you gotta have?
Oh man, that's interesting. I'm not that kind of guy. It's hard for me to eat show day. Like, show day sucks. Like, just leading up to it and getting there, I always have to like force myself to eat so I don't cramp up. I remember the last show I worked, I was complaining. I was like, I didn't eat all day, and I had worked 2 shows that day. And I remember I was wrestling Charlie Tiger from Young Dumb and Broke, And in the ring, backstage before we came out, I told him, I was like, damn, I left my banana. I should have ate a banana. And in the ring, just, shooting the shit. We're in the ring. No one knows. I'm telling him, I'm like, I'm pissed off. I left my banana at home, so I'm taking it out on you. So usually my post-match meal is like whatever is next to me, like whatever is there, usually is just like, and when I come home, I always like my wife always orders me food, especially if I'm away doing a show. Like I love me a steak. Like steak, if I had to choose every day what to eat, it would be steak. But like almost consume too much of it, and that's not good for your heart. So it's like I have to calm down. So like I'm gonna go a month without eating any red meat. But steak. If I had to choose one, it'd be steak.
Bet. So, been in for a while, man. You said, you've been up and down, training all over the place, had these great matches. We've had all of STP on the show. So, what's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn?
The one of the hard. I honestly, man, it's this time period that I'm going through right now. Just the taking care of my body. I was like, I don't know. My weight was always a sore subject for me at the beginning, and I was very stubborn. Especially when everybody would tell me. I would have like guys in the business. Of course, I'm not gonna relay the names, but they would come over to Johnny's and see me. If you was in shape, you would be signed. And it was like, well, if you like, damn, so you're gonna take away my mic work, you're gonna take away my in-ring work, you're gonna take away everything. I work a full-time job. I got 4 kids, bro. Like, like it's but so I'm here training 4 or 5 days a week from 4 p.m. to 12 at night. Like, there's but so much time that I have to hit the weight room or to get the cardio in. I'm really studying to become a master of it with my mind and really get to learn the ins and outs so I could have longevity in the wrestling business. But that was the hardest lesson for me because I should have took it serious. And now here I find myself a couple years later, and now I'm really on people's radars. And everybody's watching me, and I'm like, damn, why am I just now getting in shape? Because now I'm not in full shape. And then everything else is in shape besides I got the little love handles. And it's like, that's the only thing that pokes out. And it's like, damn, just that alone, appearance alone, because when you watch wrestling, and it's true, man, when you see a wrestler come onto your screen, and if he's not in shape, get him off on TV. If you're watching Monday Night Raw, it's an instant. Like I have that right now with Dominic Mysterio. I see him on my TV, and my wife does too. And I use my wife and my kids to really study professional wrestling. So, because they're casuals, they're in the business because they're with me, and I talk to them about it all the time. Right. They're much a part of it as I am, but I use their reactions and what they gauge upon and what they watch to see if it sticks and if I can use it, like if I can implement it to my game. And I noticed that my wife watches Raw, and she's like, "Why is Dominic on this TV?" It bothers her because he doesn't look in shape. He doesn't have muscles. He has a t-shirt on, and it's like, damn, I'll wear a t-shirt. Shit. Like, oh, it's a part of your gimmick. No, it's not, bro. I wear a t-shirt because I got love handles. Like, it's cool. Yeah, I'll put Savage on my shirt, but it's like I do it because I have to, because I want to look presentable. But I'm not stupid. I have to get in shape. I have to get in tip-top shape. I remember I spoke to someone really, really smart in the business, and he told me one thing. He's like, you have it all. You have all the tools, but you're just not in shape. If you become in shape, you're going to become undeniable. So you need to get off your high horse and stop being angry because that's the only thing holding you back. Everybody's telling you the one thing that's holding you back. So do it. Go and fix that problem. And it's like, now I'm stuck in it. Now I'm on the Indies getting all these great bookings. But it's like, now I kind of look like crap, and I'm in the middle of losing weight. I lost 15 pounds in the last, 2-3 months, but still, it's like there's a long road. You have to lose it and then put weight back on. So it's like, it's going to be a good 6 months till I even look anywhere near the way I want to look. But yeah, so everybody needs to take the weight thing and to looking presentable very serious.
I can relate to that, because even before I got into this, right, I was trying to convince myself that I was in shape, right? Like I was like, I still look good, all right. But my daughter was young, man, and kids are brutally honest. And she came up to me, and this was probably 2012, 2016, 2017, something like that. And she walked up and she poked me in my belly and she goes, "You're kind of squishy." And like my wife started laughing. And I was like, "Oh, I've become that guy."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get into the gym. I'm gonna start working out. I'm gonna get in shape." And I remember going from like 230 to like 180 pounds in like
Yeah.
6 months. But then everybody kept telling me and then I had the opposite effect. "Oh, are you okay? Are you sick? Do you have cancer?" That was the thing that got asked to me. I was like, "Yo, what?" So then I ballooned back up to like 210. I was like, "I hate being here." So I was like, "Let me focus and bring myself back to where I want to be at." But it's and that got me in shape so I could go into the ring and start training and stuff. So definitely, I understand when you realize oh shit, I don't want to look like there's nothing wrong with Jacob Fatu. That dude is amazing, but I would not look good looking like Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I would have to I would have to go, okay, I'm okay with being a fat slob. I'm gonna let my chest hair grow out. I'm gonna take off my shirt and I'm gonna be wild savage, and just say I'm gonna own that and go that route. But that's not what I want to be, That's not what any of us want to be. We want to be the best, and to be the best, you got to look like a Drew McIntyre. You got to Jesus Christ. I like Roman Reigns. I used to hate the guy. Not even from a fan perspective. It was just I always felt as if, and I told my wife this, I always felt as if Roman was the top guy by default. And it's just being a guy who wants to be in the business is to be the top guy, I want to be the guy that took it. I want to be an Austin. I want to be a Rock, blah, blah, blah. But watching Roman recently, especially at SummerSlam, that guy's on another level. He's become the top guy. There's no default. You can't take it away from him now. And it's because he got bigger. His physique got insane. He looks phenomenal. He didn't have that physique 2-3 years ago. He worked to get it. And it's look at a simple change his physique has made into his persona to a fan that's watching it. And like I said, I use my wife and my kids to gauge what they would think. You see how your daughter pushed your stomach, said you're squishy. That's what every other kid is thinking in that crowd. You're squishy. So now it's okay, now I got to make the change. Now I got to do this. If my son sees Roman and goes, wow, that's a wrestler, I need my son to think that when he sees me. So it's now I have to make those necessary changes. But it's hard because everybody in the wrestling business, we deny the weight problem. We always say we look great. We always tell ourselves what we want to hear. But the sad truth is that we don't. We all look lazy and horrible. And if we look great, we would probably all be signed right now. So it's you got to tell yourself the hard truth. And it took me a long time to tell myself that. And now I'm getting in shape. But then you get in shape and it's you find out this I was running around at 275 at the beginning of the year. And it's now I'm down to 250 something. And it's I want to go down to 245, but then come back up to 250, 260 in muscle. That's going to take me some time, man. That's going to take some time. So it just sucks, man. It just sucks.
But no, I definitely understand because I've learned now, I'm actually below 200 now. I'm 195. And a lot of people see me in a locker room and they're like, yeah, what are you weighing now? 225, 230? I'm like, yeah, nowhere near that. Because then I see a guy who weighs 230. I'm like, that guy clearly weighs 230. And they're in their shape, and it's seeing someone, and I use JTG as an example because that guy is he's 220 and he's just
phenomenal. Brick.
And you're holy cow, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. I wrestled with him the last it was last year. It was last year up in Plymouth for XWA, and it was just, he's walking around the locker room. It was Jesus Christ, I do not deserve to be in the same locker room as that man. Here I am, dressing up, lacing my boots next to JTG, saying, "Hey, pass me my T-shirt." Get out the lot. I should have just took myself out the goddamn show. That's what I should have did.
So, listen, normally the next question I would ask is what kind of advice would you give to up-and-coming wrestlers? But we've kind of gone through some big points, and if people aren't taking the notes, man, that's just on you. Listen, take care of your body and get in shape. And
that's everything everybody's telling you to do, but we keep telling them, you don't know shit. Not telling me to live my life. Like, no,
I'm gonna
no.
show you. I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, that was me. That was me like 2 years ago. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna wrestle in my t-shirt and I'm gonna get over. Yeah, I got over, but I'm still not signed. Good job. Good job, PJ. And
Yeah.
joke's on you, brother.
Yeah. So listen, a lot of different locker rooms, a lot of different places that you've been. So what I need from you is one do and one don't of the locker room.
That's good. One do is just be respectful of everybody in there and say introduce yourself. I don't care. There should be no excuse. I was in the locker room recently, and Nash Carter. Is it Nash Carter? It's the guy from NXT. He just got released. He was the NXT champion from the Rascals. He walks in the locker room and he shakes everybody's hand and he says what up to everybody. And indie guys who's trying to get signed walks in and just sits down like they own the place and they still training. And it's like, brother, please, like this is etiquette. Like just go around, shake everybody's hand, introduce yourself. You don't know who's in that locker room. You don't know what connections anyone has. You don't know what kind of connection you can make with a person. So do yourself a favor. Get off your high horse and just go shake everybody's hand and introduce yourself and be respectful of the locker room. And just do that, please. Like that is my first do, like automatically. And one don't is just don't get naked in the locker room, please. Like just stop doing it. Stop. Go to the bathroom and take your wee out in the bathroom. Please go to the stall. Like we don't need your junk in everybody's face. Like it's okay. I know we're gonna deal with this in every locker room that we go into, and some guys are just like, hey, this is me, you know? Like it's one thing for me. It's a pet peeve. It's like you just lacing up your boots and look up. Whoa, where that came from? It just sucks. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. Listen, nobody needs to see your mushroom tip in the locker room, all right?
Brother, please just
go away.
Over there.
But, well, listen, man, those are all my heavy-hitting questions, right? But we do got to get into the second best segment of the 3 Count Podcast. You probably try to figure out what's the first. It's right there. It's the Red Dogs Power Rankings you can find every Sunday on our debate show. But this is the 3 Count Podcast, 10 count questions. Mr. Savage, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever's your answer, that's your answer.
Dope. Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to put on the imaginary timer for add pressure. Bing! And in the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
Oh, the Batman, the new one.
Okay. PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Favorite actor?
Christian Bale.
Nice. Apple or Android?
Android.
Favorite cartoon?
I lost so many fans just now. The old X-Men cartoon from the 90s. It never gets old.
Sorry. Don't worry about those elitists. Dogs or cats?
Dogs. I love me a dog, man.
Cat fans are gone now.
Shit.
Favorite podcast?
Oh, man. JRE, man. Joe Rogan Experience.
Hell yeah. Name one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Name one person I want to see on this podcast. I don't know if you had him before, but I love the big guy, Wrecking Ball Kursky. It's like my favorite person in the world. Like, I talk to him all the time. Please have him on.
Yes. I will swap stories here. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
I could say it?
Yeah, 100%.
Bitch. I love bitch. Like, you can just say, it's a promo I just dropped on Chris Barton. Go watch it. It's on my YouTube and my Instagram. I called him a bitch about 30 times in that promo. It was like, for context, the guy always goes to a pier and he like, oh, this is where I'm at to think. And I just make fun of him. And he always curses in his promos. And everybody goes, why do you curse in your promos? You don't need to. So I just cut a whole promo on him, and I called him a big bitch like 30 times. But it's like the way a person says bitch. Like wrestlers love to say bitch, especially the women and some of the guys. But if you say bitch in a weird way, it just doesn't work. If I come out bitch, like it's like stop. But if you put that like bitch in it. Like you said that B, you pronounce that. Oh man, it comes up great.
Oh, I love the fact because like what that word is, and so it's like that and fuck, right? Like those are my two
Yeah,
favorite words, and the reason why is because like they can mean anything based on how you say it, right? So
100%.
yeah, bitch. You know what I mean? Like it's a question, or you'd be like, bitch, right? It's like an exclamation at that point. Like I just love that word because you could just right, or if you're like really just like in shock, like this bitch.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
That's exactly. It's like you can use it, and then when it comes to cutting promos, like you can use it in whatever context you want to use it in. So it's like it just works on so many levels, man.
Well, those are all my questions that I have for you. So if you could let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
You can find me everything's at PJ Savage _ on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube is just PJ Savage. Go check out the YouTube show Savage Season. It's all breaking fourth wall and just having fun with stuff, man, and checking out promo day and what we do behind the scenes and how we get together promos. It's all fun and games. Go check that out and prowrestlingtees.com/PJ Savage. Go cop some merch. Got some fire merch there. Got some crazy stuff. And I got a lot of things coming up. So check everything out that I'm doing, man.
Bet. Well, there you have it. He gave you all the handles. He told you where you can find him. He's even got his own YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Tee Shop. You got it all. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we got to do like everybody's favorite part of a match. You got to take this home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you out this mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, you got to have somebody who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And you see him right next to me, right there. It's PJF and Savage. You guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're subscribing to this YouTube channel. You're following us on all of our social media accounts. You're even following us on Spotify right now. You're leaving the reviews, or you're just waiting for this episode and you're waiting for the outro, and you're choosing another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there. Find us at the 3 Count _ pod. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count pod. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com. Give us a subscribe. Turn the bell on. Turn the notifications. Leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm / the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At prowrestlingtees.com / the 3 Count Pod. Please, go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.